Good day, dear children. Now we will be doing another lesson from your Hornbill textbook, that is Chapter 2, We Are Not Afraid to Die If We Can All Be Together by Gordon Cook and Alan East. This is a first-person account of an adventurous ordeal that Gordon Cook's family experiences in the southern Indian Ocean. Towards the end of the lesson, you will understand that unity and never failing confidence of the family members made it possible for them to survive and come out from the jaws of death. The whole lesson can be broadly divided into four important parts. The first part is the preparation for the voyage. The second part is the actual voyage. Third part is the difficult experience that they face in the ocean. And the fourth part is their rescue. Let's begin the chapter. The first paragraph. In July 1976, my wife Mary, son Jonathan, 6 years of age, daughter Suzanne, 7, and I set sail from Plymouth, England, to duplicate the round-the-world voyage made 200 years earlier by Captain James Cook. For the longest time, Mary and I, a 37-year-old businessman, had dreamt of sailing in the wake of the famous explorer, and for the past 16 years we had spent all our leisure time honing our seafaring skills in British waters. So the first paragraph gives you the details regarding the narrator's family. He has his wife, son, and a daughter. This writing is known as first-person narrative, where the narrator himself tells us his own story. It was a long-cherished dream for the narrator and his family to duplicate the voyage made by Captain James Cook. Now, who is Captain James Cook? He was a British naval captain, a navigator, and an explorer. And he has made 3 expeditions, and the third one took place during the period between 1776 and 1779. This is the third expedition, and it was during the bicentenary celebration of the third expedition that our narrator, Gordon Cook, and his family had taken up this voyage. Now, what preparations have they made for this particular voyage? They spent their leisure time improving the skills to travel by sea, and that too in British waters. Okay, we will continue with the second paragraph. Our boat, Wave Walker, so underline the name of the boat, it's a sailing ship, a 23-meter, 30-ton wooden hulled beauty, a water-typed body is known as hull. It had been professionally built, and we had spent months fitting it out and testing it in the roughest weather we could find. So the first and the primary requirement was a proper equipment, that is a boat for them to travel. So that was made, it was professionally built, and it was tested thoroughly. The first leg, the first part of our planned 3-year 105,000 kilometer journey passed pleasantly as we sailed down the west coast of Africa to Cape Town. There, before heading east, we took on 2 crewmen, American Larry Vigil and Swiss Herb Siegler, to help us to deal with one of the world's roughest seas, the southern Indian Ocean. So the first part of the journey went off as planned, and in the second part of the journey they wanted help because it was through the roughest seas, that is the southern Indian Ocean. Before we proceed with the chapter, let's take a quick look at the different parts of a yacht. It's given in page number 20. Turn to page 20 and mark the different parts of a yacht. Towards the left you find the first one is mast. Mast is a post carrying a sail. And the second one is bow. Bow is actually the front part or the foremost part of the hull of a ship. Towards your right, you can find the first one is sail. Sail is a triangular sail. It is also known as jib. It's actually a piece of material spread to catch the wind and help the boat to propel. Below that you have boom. Boom is a piece of timber or a beam at the foot of a sail. Below that is the cockpit, the area from where a captain controls the ship. And below that you have stern, followed by rudder. Rudder is a primary control surface which is used for steering. Again, you also have cabin. Cabin is a compartment or a room. Now let's continue with the chapter, page number 14. On our second day out of Cape Town, we began to encounter strong gales. Gales are strong wind. For the next few weeks, they blew continuously. Gales did not worry me, but the size of the waves was alarming, up to 15 meters, as high as our main mast. The weather, which had been peaceful till then, started to change. Strong wind and huge waves started threatening them. December 25th, Christmas Day, found us 3,500 kilometers east of Cape Town. Despite atrocious weather, unpleasant weather, we had a wonderful holiday, complete with a Christmas tree. New Year's Day saw no improvement in the weather, but we reasoned that it had to change soon, and it did change for the worse. At dawn on January 2nd, underline the date January 2nd, the waves were gigantic. We were sailing with only a small storm jib and were still making 8 knots. Knot is actually a unit of speed. As the ship rose to the top of each wave, we could see endless, enormous seas rolling towards us, and the screaming of the wind and spray was painful to the ears. The narrator proceeds to explain the hardships, the severity of the hardship that they had to face in the ocean. The strong wind and the huge waves continued troubling them. Now, what did he do after that? To slow the boat down, we dropped the storm jib and lashed a heavy mooring rope in a loop across the stern. Then we double lashed everything, went through our life raft drill, attached lifelines, donned oilskins and life jackets, and waited. Here the captain does a series of activities to lessen the damage caused to the ship. The first thing is he slowed the boat down. The second one, they dropped the storm jib. You know what a jib is. It is a triangular shaped sail. Third step is they lashed a heavy mooring. They fastened a rope in a loop across the stern. That's the third point. Fourth one, they put double knot to everything. Fifth point, they went through the life raft drill. The sixth one, they attached lifelines. They even put on oilskins. Oilskins are actually thick cotton cloth which is waterproof, and they wore their life jackets and they waited. So the whole family was getting prepared to encounter whatever is likely to happen in future. The first indication of impending disaster came at about 6 p.m. with an ominous silence, unpleasant or threatening silence. The wind dropped and the sky immediately grew dark. Then came a growing roar and an enormous cloud towered aft of the ship. Near the stern of the ship, there was a heavy cloud. The sky became dark, the wind dropped, and there was an enormous silence. With horror, I realized that it was not a cloud, but a wave like no other I had ever seen. It appeared perfectly vertical and almost twice the height of the other waves, with a frightful breaking crest. A crest is the topmost part of the wave, and the captain had never seen such a huge wave in his lifetime, and he got terrified. The roar increased to a thunder as the stern moved up the face of the wave, and for a moment I thought we might ride over it. But then a tremendous explosion shook the deck. Deck is the floor of a ship. A torrent of green and white water broke over the ship. My head smashed into the wheel, and I was aware of flying overboard and sinking below the waves. I accepted my approaching death, and as I was losing consciousness, I felt quite peaceful. Though the situation is getting worsened here, the captain of the ship, the narrator, doesn't lose his hope. He feels somehow he can manage, but a tremendous explosion shook the floor of the ship, and the captain himself fell over the side of the ship and finally into the water. He became unconscious and couldn't do anything. Unexpectedly, my head popped out of the water. A few meters away, Wave Walker was near capsizing, was overturned in water, her masts almost horizontal. Then a wave hurled her upright. My lifeline taut, jerked tight, grabbed the guardrails and sailed through the air into Wave Walker's main boom. So here the narrator successfully gets back to the Wave Walker. He was a bit relieved to see the Wave Walker, which was capsized, getting back to the position by a violent wave. Subsequent waves tossed me around the deck like a rag doll. My left ribs cracked, underline that part, the mouth filled with blood and broken teeth. There are 3 points. Somehow I found the wheel lined up the stern for the next wave and hung on. So here the captain is struggling to help his family members and himself and the crewmen survive this disaster. Water everywhere. I could feel that the ship had water below, but I dared not abandon. I did not have the courage to leave the wheel to investigate, to check out from where the water is entering into the ship. Suddenly, the front hatch was thrown open and Mary appeared. "We are sinking," she screamed. "The decks are smashed and you're full of water." "Take the wheel," I shouted as I scrambled for the hatch. So the captain is giving the wheel to his wife and then proceeding to do whatever is needed. Larry and Herb, the crewmen, were pumping like mad men. Broken timbers hung at crazy angles. The whole starboard, that is right side of the ship, bulged inwards. Clothes, crockery, charts, tins and toys sloshed about in deep water. I half swam, half crawled into the children's cabin. "Are you all right?" I asked. "Yes," they answered from an upper bunk. "But my head hurts a bit," said Sue, pointing to a big bump above her eyes. I had no time to worry about bumped heads. So meanwhile, the narrator takes a quick look at his children before proceeding to rescue or to do whatever is necessary to save them. After finding a hammer, screws and canvas, I struggled back on deck. With the starboard side bashed open, we were taking water with each wave that broke over us. If I couldn't make some repairs, we would surely sink. Here, the narrator again finds that more and more water was getting into the ship. If nothing is done, at the earliest, they are sure to sink. Thus, we come to the end of part 1. Thank you.